Hello, this is Horzak, and I'm about to start a just chatting stream. And I just happened to pick up a new playlist from Viva La Dirt League on YouTube it's called ADHD and Me. And one of the characters, I don't know if the actress's name is Britt or that's her character's name. I think the actress's name is Britt, and Ellie is the other one. And in the series, Britt gets diagnosed with ADHD, and Ellie plays a character personifying the ADHD. And I really enjoyed the series, so I thought, let me go on and do my own thing about ADHD. So I'm going to get ChatGPT involved in this. I'm not sure how much it will be willing to talk about it being a medical topic. We're going to find out. Let's see. And I know it's in my title and the Stream Elements bot put up in chat, but let me just say the music is from Lofi Music Box. You can find it on Spotify. I do have permission to use it. If you like it, just in case, let me get a link. I'm allowed to post links. I don't know if anybody else is. I don't think so. I think one of my friends helped me block all links. Let's see. Where's my share button? Do I have a share button? Or let me just copy this and see if this does it. I think this does it. I hope that works. That should be the link to Lofi Music Box on Spotify. So, welcome viewers. I'm not sure those are real viewers or just my bots, but it says I got a couple. So let me go ahead and switch over to my ChatGPT. Where is it? There it is. We're going to transition here. And I think I'm going to move. Did I do something that killed my music? I'll check that in a minute. Oh, let's find the ChatGPT website. I want to move my face over here like this. I think that's better. My camera's frozen again. Deactivate. Activate. That usually fixes it. It didn't this time. I think my processor's struggling. I so much want a new computer and I just can't spend the money right now. Yeah, my processor is struggling hard. Either that or my internet. Turn my camera back on, see if it works this time. Oh, such lag. Whomper, what's up? Good to see you. Get kind of a rough start here. Ah, and the cat just jumped on me. He literally jumped on me. I got something on my camera working now. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and let me minimize. This might help. Just minimizing this might help. Okay, so let me tell ChatGPT what's going on. I think we named him Charlie. All right, I'm telling ChatGPT, good evening, Charlie. I'm on stream again. Captain Whomper has joined us again. Today, we're going to talk about a very serious topic, ADHD. Let's give Charlie a chance to respond to us. Charlie, the chatbot. See if he gets your name right this time. I doubt it.
Good evening. It's great to be back with you on stream, and welcome back, Captain Humper. ADHD is indeed a serious and important topic. It's something that affects so many people across different walks of life, and raising awareness about it can help foster greater understanding and empathy. If there's a particular aspect of ADHD you'd like to dive into, whether it's living with ADHD, how it affects learning, misconceptions, or even tools and strategies for managing it, just let me know. I'll do my best to provide thoughtful insights or help guide the discussion with your audience.
Captain Humper.
Let's make this an enlightening and
It's your new
engaging
name?
conversation.
Okay. Sorry, Cat, you got to go. Oh, I love that cat, but sometimes. My prompt this time is, I was undiagnosed as a child, but it affected my entire life. What would you say to an adult who thinks they have undiagnosed ADHD? Charlie's working on it.
Thank you for sharing that. It's a deeply personal and important topic, and I imagine many others in your audience may feel the same way. To an adult who thinks they might have undiagnosed ADHD, here's what I would say. 1. Trust your instincts. If you suspect you have ADHD, it's worth exploring further. Many adults go undiagnosed because ADHD can present differently in adulthood or because they've developed coping mechanisms that mask symptoms. 2. Learn about the symptoms. Educate yourself about the signs of ADHD in adults, which often differ from the classic hyperactivity seen in children. Common signs include difficulty focusing on tasks or following through on projects, chronic procrastination or trouble prioritizing, impulsivity in speech, decision-making, or actions, emotional dysregulation, such as feeling overwhelmed easily or having a short temper,
Oh, yeah.
restlessness or feeling on edge, even without physical hyperactivity. 3. Seek professional evaluation. Reach out to a mental health professional, such as a psychiatrist, psychologist, or licensed therapist, for an evaluation. Primary care doctors can also provide referrals to specialists who focus on ADHD in adults. 4. Understand the impact. Reflect on how these symptoms might have shaped your experiences, from struggles in school to challenges at work or in relationships. This self-awareness can help you articulate your concerns during an evaluation. 5. Consider treatment options. ADHD can often be managed effectively through a combination of strategies, including behavioral therapy to develop practical skills and coping mechanisms, medication, if deemed appropriate, to help regulate focus and impulse control. Lifestyle changes, such as creating structured routines, setting reminders, and minimizing distractions. 6. Find support. Connecting with others who have ADHD can be empowering. Support groups, in person or
Charlie's
online,
almost
can
done.
offer
I'm gonna let him
advice,
finish.
encouragement, and validation. 7. Be kind to yourself. Many adults with undiagnosed ADHD carry feelings of guilt or shame for their struggles. Recognize that ADHD isn't a personal failing, it's a neurodevelopmental condition, and seeking help is a step toward understanding yourself better. Talking point for the stream. ADHD isn't just a childhood condition. Exploring what undiagnosed ADHD might look like in adults could open the door for viewers to share their own experiences and learn from each other. Would you like me to expand on strategies for managing ADHD as an adult?
All right, Captain. Captain Whomper says, I forgot to ask. Hold on, my chat disappeared. How's your week been so far? Now, my work week runs Friday through Monday. So yesterday was like my Friday, and actually was pretty good. I work at a retail store, um, a super center of a retail store, and I'm in the maintenance crew. And they've had me working the back room a lot, and I really like that. I use electric pallet jack and a thing called a walkie stacker, which is like a combination between an electric pallet jack and a forklift. So you can actually put pallets up on the top steel. So the whole back room basically becomes my responsibility with under guidance. I'm not like supervisor level. I'm just they say take care of these things, and I go try to make the back room look good. And so that's where I've been most of the time this week. And they have another piece of what they call power lifting equipment. It's called a scissor lift. You've probably seen them if you're not familiar with the name. They've got a platform. Let's see and then they've got several X's. They do like this to lift it up. And that's why it's called a scissor lift. And so, it just lifts you way up in the sky. So I was up there with a duster, getting cobwebs. Um, Came home as dirty as I ever get doing maintenance. Oh, and then we have these big green, like heavy steel. You could probably, hide in as a bomb shelter kind of thing. They're actual cardboard balers. I mean, these things are massive and thick. I got a note. Deep clean the balers. I'm like, what? I've been in this company almost 7 years, and nobody has ever deep cleaned the baler. I'm like, what are they even asking for? So the first one I did a really good job though. Deep cleaned it. And you get, there's this press that comes down that compresses the cardboard, and then on top of that press, bits of cardboard get collected and dust and hydraulic fluid, and ends up being basically oil dust. Oil mud. So on that one, I got almost all the oil mud cleaned out. The oil soaked cardboard cleaned out, and did a really good job on it. Um, as I was finishing, it was just the right time. Somebody needed to make a bale, so I just stood back and let them make the bale. I make bales myself, but somebody else happened to be doing it at that moment. And so I told him, when you eject that, just leave it empty. I'll take care of it. So he ejected it. Matter of fact, that's after he ejected it. I brought the ram all the way back down so I could reach on top of it more easily. Clean that off real good. But then I put the ram back up and went inside where the cardboard normally goes. I'm smart enough. I flipped there's a big wall switch, a big like lever switch to turn the power off to the machine, so I didn't get crushed. So I didn't have a tag out to put on it, but at least I powered it down. So um, swept it out real good. Um, got some cardboard unstuck from all that. Got it all put back together. New cardboard on the bottom. Let him use it again. Then as I was working on it, I called my team lead over. I said, "Hey, this is where I get in trouble." He's like, "What?" I'm like, "I get told to do a job." Sorry, I'm shaking the camera. I get told to do a job that's never been done before, and then I take too long, I get in trouble. He says, "I got you," and he says, "You just wipe it down and move on." And so I've got another baler to do already, so I know, okay, I'm gonna finish, I'm gonna wrap this one up, but when I get to the other one, I'm just gonna basically just wipe it down and move on. But still, I was kind of questioning. He says, just wipe the dust off and move on. So I've gone from deep clean the baler to wipe the dust off and move on. I'm sure that whoever wrote the note, deep clean the baler, did not mean wipe the dust off and move on. But it got done. I mean, I probably did a little bit more in that second baler than he wanted me to, because I wasn't going to leave it that nasty, but I did do a lot faster. And it was full of cardboard, so I didn't even get to do the inside of that one. But that's um part of my week. And then it went after I got the balers done. That's when we got the scissor lift and went and did the cobwebs. That was interesting. I'd used the scissor lift a couple of times, um, but it was still sort of a. I felt like a novice. Put it that way. I felt like a novice on it. But by the time I got done with doing the cobwebs, I'd move that thing around up and down and um, use its platform. There's a platform that you stand on, and then you can push part of it out and walk over on that part too, so that you can get above things. So you like pull up right next to a block of something, lift up, and then push um your platform so that you can get somewhere where the machine itself couldn't just reach, but you can still get to a little bit by pushing that platform out. So that was actually not bad. It sounds horrible. People, if you don't like spiders, if you don't like getting dirty, it would have been horrible. But I don't care. And it was interesting to me to be doing something different. I guess that goes back to ADHD. Is that I think, anyways, that new experiences probably are good for those with ADHD. So let me go ahead and talk to ChatGPT about that. So my prompt to Charlie is I was telling Captain W that I was using a scissor lift at work, and even though it was a dirty job of cleaning cobwebs off the rafters, I kind of enjoyed it. I suspect that the novelty of it made it enjoyable, and maybe that scratched the proverbial ADHD itch. And Captain says, I agree. Something new from time to time sounds nice.
That makes total sense. Novelty and stimulation can play a huge role in how people with ADHD experience tasks. The brain thrives on interest and engagement, and a scissor lift is both novel, if you don't use one every day, and stimulating. It's a bit like an adventure up in the air, even if the job itself isn't glamorous. Tasks that involve movement, hands-on activity, or a new perspective often click for folks with ADHD because they offer the dopamine boost the ADHD brain craves. Cleaning cobwebs off rafters might not sound fun to most people, but the combination of using cool equipment, breaking from routine, and maybe even the satisfaction of visibly seeing your progress can turn it into an enjoyable experience. Here's a thought for the stream discussion: the ADHD, itch, and novelty. It's fascinating how ADHD brains often find joy in the unexpected or unusual parts of life. That same energy might make other tasks, like sitting through repetitive, routine meetings, feel unbearable. Proactive approaches. Learning to harness novelty to stay engaged in everyday tasks is key. For example, switching up environments, using timers, or gamifying boring tasks can help. So how did Captain Humper react? Did he think the scissor lift sounded fun, or was he more focused on the cobwebs?
Sorry, Captain. I'm still laughing at how he says your name. Oh, there it goes. I thought it was failing on me. It clicked. Come on, Charlie. Are you working on it? Oh, pardon my yawn. I have blood work in the morning, and I have to fast, so nothing but water till my blood work. But I guess water will be all right. Let me see if Charlie's still there. Prompting Charlie. You still with us, Charlie? You got kind of quiet. I'm going to turn on my fan. Give me a second. There we go. That feels better. I didn't want to turn my air conditioner on because I want to save my electric bill. I mean, it's the middle of December, but it was like 80 degrees outside this morning. I went to get a new SIM card for my phone, and it was 80 degrees outside. I'm like, mid-December, and it's 80 degrees. I'm in Florida. I mean, so you expect it, but sometimes it's still shocking. So Charlie did finally respond.
I'm still here, just listening and ready to jump in when needed. Sometimes I like to give space for the conversation to flow. What's next on the agenda? Or maybe Captain Hopper has an answer to the challenge about trying something totally new.
If you don't mind me asking, Captain, what kind of work do you do? I must have hit enter by mistake. What the heck? I didn't think I hit enter. No, Slender the Arrival. Let me read that. Captain Whomper says, I don't mind at all. Have you ever heard of a game called Slender the Arrival? I helped make that. Awesome. So are you a creative? Are you a dev? A little bit of both? What kind of stuff? I mean, I don't want to pry, but also I want to, engage and, find out about my audience. What happened to my music? Is it playing? Is it not playing? If I say I'm a web developer, I'm overstating the case. I've worked with what we call the LAMP stack: Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP. I'm far, far from a Linux guru. If I do copy and paste some commands, I'll understand enough of what I'm doing that I'm not just blindly copying and pasting commands. But I do have to copy and paste. Apache, I prefer to let somebody else, actually manage my server. MySQL, it's learn as I go and basically forget when I walk away. PHP, it's learn as I go and forget less as I walk away. The thing is that my day to day these days and for the last several years hasn't pushed me in the direction of learning stuff. And my ADHD that I'm actually talking to ChatGPT about, I said that wrong. But anyways, what I'm talking to Charlie about right now, it has prevented me from moving forward in my dev career. So Captain says character and level design. So I help out with the character models and map layouts. Well, that's pretty cool. Let me take a peek. It's called Slender the Arrival. I remember there was a meme or something like that or a while back called Slender Man, and it was so I expected it was going to be something spooky. So I am going to. It released last year. Okay. I am going to copy link address, and I'm allowed to do this because I am the streamer, and that makes me the boss. So I can. What if I can click the right thing? Come on, Corey. I'm going to paste this right here in case anybody else pops in. They can check out your game. just the thumbnail of it without the. I've got two thumbnails. One is just text, and one is text with a face. And just the text, you can tell it's supposed to be something creepy, and the face really does it. So that's pretty cool. So, where am I going here? So I've got too many things open. I need here we go. Oh, let's let Charlie talk to us, because I told him about being happiest when I'm learning something.
That's such a great mindset. Learning not only keeps the mind sharp, but also brings a deep sense of fulfillment, especially when it sparks that dopamine rush. Do you find certain types of learning, hands-on, reading, experimenting, etc., to be more rewarding, or is it anything that challenges the brain?
So I'm telling Charlie, for me it has to be active. Even the digital sense is okay, but anything static will put me to sleep, or I'll wander off. A couple of years ago, I decided I was going to transition into being an Android developer, and I started learning Java. And the one thing about learning Java is I had to finally learn object-oriented programming. That's using classes with their embedded methods and all that sort of thing, instead of just writing procedural code where you just put your functions in and do what needs to be done in that way. And then, as I was learning Android with Java, I learned, oh no, Android switching over to this thing called Kotlin. Okay, so I started learning Kotlin. And then the more I worked into the Android ecosystem, and the more I learned about the things I was learning was basically build business apps. I'm like, that's just more websites. It's the same, but with more baggage trying to deal with Android. And so I got frustrated with that, because what I really want to do is make games. I wanted to make Android games. And so at least a year I went trying to do that sort of thing. And they said, let me switch over to Unity and learn how to make games using Unity. And I made one game, but it was just from a tutorial. I didn't really learn anything on my own to make my own game, but I followed their tutorial, was able to make a game. And just for the practice of it, I published it. And then Unity changed their pricing model. And it wasn't going to affect me. It probably would never have affected me, because it was really harsh for companies with a larger audience. It was going to be really expensive for them. But I just didn't like it, and none of the community liked it. And so I walked away, and I switched to Godot. And I started learning Godot, which is another game. I didn't specify, in case you're not in the industry. Unity is a game engine, and Godot is a completely, totally free game engine. And so I started learning some Godot, but again, a combination of my ADHD the fact that I work at night and I'm tired all the time, I haven't really put the effort into continuing my Godot education the way I should. And I'm not the creative, so I have to use, whatever's available. And I get hung up sometimes thinking that I need to be a creative, or, I have just the right thing, just the right placeholder, when I just need to put a placeholder in, and if I get far enough along, I can get a creative like Captain here, and move forward after the, what do they call it, minimum viable product, MVP, minimum viable product, is in place. But I get myself hung up too much. But then again, I haven't even touched Godot in probably 6 months. Um, Charlie didn't respond to my last text. That's really cool. I mean, I'm a bit of a gamer myself, so let me read this. Cat Womper says, "This is my first game I helped with. So as a gamer, I'm very proud of it. I would be. I mean, that's pretty amazing." Um, One of my dear friends, and I used to work for him. You'll know him on here as what is his full name? Deadly Plays, I think, is what his name is right now. It was Deadly Games or Deadly Gamer or something like that. I think he changed it to Deadly Plays. But anyways, I used to work for Deadly Plays as a web developer, and he was the creative. But before then, we were friends, and we were playing Quake 2, and he made a lot of Quake maps, and it was really cool to see, for him to create this thing and then go and play in it. So that I like that. And yes, you should be very proud of yourself, Captain Wamp, for being able to be part of something like that. Let me go back over here. Oh, and it's on the PlayStation. All right. On r/horror gaming, there's a headline, just gushing about Slender the Arrival. It says the game plays like how you'd expect, but it changes up the design enough to make it feel fresh. There's multiple endings and secret levels to explore. Well, that's pretty cool, because right there in that shout out, they're shouting you out. They like the design. So awesome on you. Let's see. Charlie says,
That's amazing, Captain Whomper. Game development is no small feat, and having pride in your work is a testament to the effort and creativity you put into it. Was there a specific part of the game, like the story, art, or mechanics, that you especially enjoyed contributing to?
so when you were you doing a 3D modeling program or something specific to game or game engine that you work with, or how did you do your models and your levels? Oh, by the way, I was talking about Deadly Plays and working for him and all that. This is his music I'm listening to also, in case I didn't mention that last time. He's the one who gave me permission to use his music. I think it adds a lot to my stream. I was, the other day after I'd done one of these, I was at work listening to it back to kind of critique myself and just get an idea of what it's like on the other side. And I thought, wow, that music adds so much. It covers my dead air and just kind of gives them a nice ambience, I think. So I'm typing another message to Charlie. I'm not sure if Captain can reply right now, so we're going to go back to our discussion of ADHD. Captain can jump back in whenever he's ready. What might make an adult think they have ADHD, and how might their family help or hinder? It wouldn't be an ADHD stream if we didn't change topics back and forth, I guess. So we can talk about game dev, we can talk about art, we can talk about ADHD, and we can talk about the color of roses, or that was sarcasm. Why did my phone chime? I'm not sure which one is it. Oh, the silence asylum. No, that was from this morning, 12 hours ago. Yeah, I'm not sure why my phone chimed.
Geico and save on your car insurance? It's like finishing your laundry and successfully matching all your daughter's baby socks together on the first try.
Where's my? I have too much things open on my. I was gonna mute.
Every one of those tiny socks. I mean, has this ever happened in the history of laundry?
Okay. Captain says, so the version I helped with is a remaster of the original. It wasn't a project that started from scratch, it was more polishing over. So rendering from scratch wasn't necessary. Oh, okay. We've hit the limit for GPT 4.0, so we're going to switch over to a less advanced version of ChatGPT, but we're going to continue anyways. So here's Charlie's response. But before I do that, what was that like, Captain? While I give you a chance to type, we're gonna let Charlie talk.
Good plan. Here's a thoughtful breakdown of those questions. What might make an adult suspect they have ADHD? Adults may start to wonder about ADHD when they notice persistent challenges, such as difficulty staying organized, losing items, missing deadlines, or constantly feeling behind. Trouble with focus, getting distracted mid-task, zoning out in conversations, or struggling to complete long projects. Restlessness, feeling like they can't relax, needing constant activity, or having racing thoughts. Impulsivity, making snap decisions, blurting things out, or struggling to regulate emotions. Difficulty prioritizing, tackling easier or more interesting tasks while avoiding critical responsibilities. Often, they'll hear about ADHD from others or read something that resonates, prompting them to explore further. How can family help? Family can be a critical support system by encouraging evaluation, support seeking professional help, like seeing a doctor or therapist for an assessment. Creating a safe space, listening without judgment, which can reduce shame or defensiveness. Helping with systems, suggesting or implementing small tools, planners, reminders, apps to improve organization without being overbearing. Celebrating strengths, recognizing creativity, problem solving, and unique skills associated with ADHD can boost self-esteem. How might family hinder? Family dynamics can sometimes unintentionally add challenges. Criticism or misunderstanding. Dismissing symptoms as laziness, forgetfulness, or irresponsibility instead of recognizing them as part of ADHD. Overstepping boundaries, trying to fix the person rather than working with them collaboratively. Ignoring the issue, failing to acknowledge struggles, or resisting the idea of seeking help. Ultimately, open communication and education about ADHD can empower both the individual and their family to work as a team. Did any of these points resonate with your experience?
I have a tendency not to want to directly answer the questions that ChatGPT asks at the end of its messages, because I don't always think that it's guiding the conversation the direction I want to go. So it doesn't mind if I ignore its questions at the end. Oh, pardon me. There was something he said earlier. Let's see. Let me scroll up and find it. Oh, I scrolled up too high. Yeah. Yeah, let's see. Imagine having to redesign everything in Mondstadt and make it look better. From grass rocks, trees, everything. Oh my gosh, Captain Whomper. That's like, what a task. And you pulled it off, so that's awesome. That would be overwhelming. So I'm telling Charlie, I participate in r/ADHDers and other ADHD-related subreddits. The topics that come up can seem a bit repetitive. What topics do you think might be less common, but important to talk about? In case somebody comes upon my stream and doesn't know what Mondstadt is, that is the opening city, you might say, in the game Genshin Impact. It's where you meet your first player character, your first NPCs. But to be fair, the levels weren't as big as you imagine, but we covered everything nonetheless. Okay, so it wasn't like doing all of Tyvat, but just like all of Mondstadt. But still, that's a lot. So Charlie says this.
It's great that you're engaging with ADHD communities like that. While certain topics like medication and basic coping strategies often dominate discussions, there are some less common but equally important issues that could be worth exploring. 1. ADHD and emotional regulation. Many people with ADHD struggle with emotional regulation, which can go beyond impulsivity or frustration. Some experience extreme mood swings or get overwhelmed by emotions in ways that might be mistaken for other issues. Diving into strategies for managing this aspect of ADHD, including mindfulness, emotional self-awareness, and therapy options, could help others feel understood and find new tools for emotional resilience. 2. ADHD in different cultures.
I really wish this thing had a pause. I can pause I can stop Charlie, but if I start him up again, he starts from the beginning again. So that's something that needs to be mentioned to OpenAI. Let them know that, hey, here's a missing feature. Let's be able to pause the talkback. So Captain says, I never knew you had an interest for this thing. It's nice explaining this to someone else. I can't say I have the interest like I know what I'm doing or know what I'm talking about, but I still think it's really cool. As a, what's the word I want to use? I guess wannabe is a good word. Myself. I want to be game developer, and maybe one day I will be a game developer. But I'm 52 years old. If I'm gonna do it, I need to do it now. But anyways, that being said, I have the interest because at some point I might need the services of somebody like you because I'm not a creative. So I'm interested in the fact that I know it takes a special talent to make things look nice, and I don't have that talent. So I guess for someone who doesn't programming might seem like magic. And so for someone who doesn't do art has that same weight that I can see the art and go, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. So yeah, that's my interest and where I'm coming from on that. I don't want you to think that I'm something that I'm not. I'm not the artist. I just really like the art that goes into games. That's a matter of fact, thinking about Genshin, that's one of the things I like most about it. The music and the scenery. If I wasn't into trying to do quests and everything, just climb up on a big mountain and just look at the scenery. I'm blown away because I like to do that in real life. If I have a chance to drive up to Kentucky, Tennessee, Virginia, into the Appalachian Mountains, because I'm from this side of the country. And if I ever had a chance to go out west and do the Rockies, I'm sure I'd be just as impressed there, or more so, perhaps. But I don't know. I really like the Appalachians. To go up to a high place and just to look out and see the world. And so you get that in Tyvat. You get that in parts of Mondstadt and I guess Liwa isn't as visually appealing to me in that sense, but it's still, I mean, there's architecture there to look at, and that's pretty cool. Um, and the characters are well developed and all that. So the art in Genshin, I like it. Um, like I said, I wish Charlie would let me pause him and then start him back up, but I'm gonna let him talk again. Chime in anytime you want, Captain. Um, you know, you're more important to me than Charlie is here. I'm trying to keep the things going here.
It's great that you're engaging with ADHD communities like that. While certain topics like medication and basic coping strategies often dominate discussions, there are some less common but equally important issues that could be worth exploring. 1. ADHD and emotional regulation. Many people with ADHD struggle with emotional regulation, which can go beyond impulsivity or frustration. Some experience extreme mood swings or get overwhelmed by emotions in ways that might be mistaken for other issues. Diving into strategies for managing this aspect of ADHD, including mindfulness, emotional self-awareness, and therapy options, could help others feel understood and find new tools for emotional resilience. 2. ADHD in different cultures. ADHD can present differently in various cultures. Some cultures may have different views on behavior, discipline, or mental health, which can affect diagnosis and treatment. Exploring how ADHD is perceived, diagnosed, and treated in non-Western societies could bring more inclusive conversations to the table and offer a broader understanding of the condition.
But that's interesting. Yeah.
3. ADHD and relationships, romantic, family, friendship.
Yeah.
While it's common to discuss ADHD in terms of work or school, less often do we hear about how ADHD affects relationships. ADHD can make it harder to maintain deep connections due to challenges like forgetfulness, impulsivity, or misunderstandings. Discussing how ADHD affects communication and long-term relationships could help people find strategies to improve connections with partners, family, and friends. 4. Hyperfocus and its pitfalls. Hyperfocus can be an incredible gift, but it also has a dark side, especially when it leads to burnout or neglect of other responsibilities. Exploring how to harness hyperfocus without getting caught in a cycle of neglect or exhaustion might help people learn how to leverage it while avoiding its pitfalls. 5. ADHD and financial management. Managing finances can be a huge challenge for people with ADHD, from forgetting to pay bills to impulsively spending. Discussions around budgeting tools, how ADHD affects financial habits, and how to build a system that works for the ADHD brain might be helpful and less commonly discussed in detail. 6. ADHD and executive functioning in non-work school contexts. A lot of ADHD content centers around the workplace or school, but executive functioning difficulties all...
This wall of text is too much for me.
You feel when you switch to Geico and save on your car insurance? It's like finishing your laundry and successfully matching all your daughter's baby socks together on the first try.
Let's see. Panda socks, fire truck socks, socks with those cute little strawberries on them.
You matched each and every one of those tiny socks. I mean, has this ever happened in the history of laundry?
And a penguin wearing a cowboy hat socks. Done.
Let's see.
Enjoy
Where
the moment, Dad.
You've earned it.
yeah.
Yep, switching and saving with Geico feels just like that. Get more with Geico.
Song says, I like you, Charlie, but as a person with ADHD, that answer's a wall of text. Let's move on. Hyperfocus is probably what causes me the most trouble. I'll focus on the wrong thing for hours on end. YouTube is particularly bad at holding my attention with their shorts. Man, just grooving with that music. Well done, Bubba. Alright, Charlie gave a shorter response this time. Maybe I'll let him get through what he's saying.
Haha, I totally get it. Long responses can sometimes feel like too much. Let's keep it more focused and to the point. Hyperfocus can definitely be a double-edged sword. It's awesome when it helps you dive deep into something productive, but it can be a real trap when you get stuck on something like YouTube Shorts or a rabbit hole you can't escape. A few quick ideas for dealing with hyperfocus. 1. Set timers or alarms. Use a timer to give yourself a clear limit, like 30 minutes, so you can step away before it gets too out of hand. Number 2. Accountability buddy. If you can, have someone check in with you periodically to see what you're working on. This can help you stay aware of how long you've been focused on a task. 3. Use distractions to your advantage. Have a list of productive but easy tasks that are hard to hyper-focus on, like folding laundry or sorting your desk. Switching between tasks might help break the cycle. 4. Self-reminders. Try setting reminders to pause before diving into something too long. That little break can help you reset. Do you find that breaking hyperfocus is tough, or does it sometimes just need a good push to snap out of it?
What are you doing, Charlie? There he goes.
That's really insightful and totally understandable. When it feels like something is taking away your autonomy, it can trigger that resistance. ADHD often plays into that feeling of needing control. And when tools or external factors feel too much like a force, it just doesn't sit right. The challenge with hyperfocus, especially when it's not something you've chosen consciously, is that it can feel like you've lost control over what you're focusing on, even though you're still the one choosing the activity. It's like your brain is in the driver's seat and you're just along for the ride, even if it's a trip you didn't intend to take. What might help is finding ways to make the tools feel more like part of your own decision-making rather than something imposed on you. For example, 1. Gamify your coping strategies. If you're into rewards, you could set up a mini-game where you earn points for doing things like taking a break or switching tasks after a set time. The key is making it feel like a choice, not a rule. 2. Personalize the structure. If you're using a timer, perhaps instead of a strict work for X minutes then break, it could be more flexible, like setting a timer with the goal to check in with yourself after a set time to assess if you need a break or to keep going. 3. Shift from should to want. Reframing the tools from I have to use them to I choose to use them to help me stay in control might take some of the pressure off. It's like giving yourself the permission to use the structure without feeling like it's a restriction. The resistance to external authority can be a strong one. Do you think it's more about feeling restricted, or is it the way those tools are presented that gets you pushing back? That makes a lot of sense, and you're hitting on something important. It seems like the resistance might stem from a feeling of external control, even when it's self-imposed. When society, whether directly or indirectly, places expectations on behavior, like being productive, staying organized, or sticking to a schedule, it can feel like a constant pressure, and tools designed to help you stay on track can amplify that pressure. Even though the tools are intended to give you more freedom by helping you manage distractions or hyperfocus, they can feel like an extension of societal expectations, and that can trigger the feeling of being told what to do. It's like the tools are echoing the external pressures you already feel, which makes them harder to accept. Maybe the key lies in reclaiming those tools as your decision, not something you're using because society demands it. Finding a way to make those tools feel personal could reduce that tension. For example, 1. Redefine the tools as a form of self-care. Instead of seeing them as productivity tools that tie you to societal demands, you could reframe them as a way to prioritize your well-being, taking breaks when you need them, managing energy instead of output. 2. Flip the narrative. Try seeing the tools not as a must-follow system, but more like a suggestion or a choice you've made for your own benefit. The more flexible and customizable you can make them, the less they'll feel like an outside force. 3. Minimize outside pressure. When you use these tools, try to make it about you, not about expectations from society, family, or work. If the tools feel less like a societal command and more like a personal strategy for managing your brain, it might help with the resistance. Do you think framing things that way might help shift how you perceive the tools you use? Or does the issue lie deeper in that sense of external pressure?
How do you feel when you switch to Geico and save on your car insurance? It's like going to work on Thursday morning and thinking to yourself, just one more day until Friday. But then somebody walks into the elevator and says,
Happy Friday!
Then you check your phone quickly and discover today is actually Friday. So yes, happy Friday, random stranger in the elevator. Happy Friday indeed. Yep, switching and saving with Geico feels just like that. Get more with Geico.
Pardon me. So my new prompt is, so you might be onto something there. I use a task as reminders, but they're too easy to snooze or just dismiss them. But a reminder to walk away for a moment might help against those unproductive hyper-focused situations. If I don't come right back and pick up that same hyper-focused thing again. I think it's like the biblical concept of the pleasures of sin for a season. Hyper-focusing on a game or videos or whatever gives you that pleasure, but there's almost always some pain to follow. Missing sleep, work not getting done, disappointing a loved one, whatever. Okay, and Charlie says,
It sounds like you're really tuning in to the balance between the short-term pleasure of hyperfocus and the longer-term consequences that follow. That kind of awareness is a huge first step in managing ADHD. Hyperfocus can definitely be addictive, and it does resemble that pleasures of sin concept, immediate rewards for staying in the zone, but later on there's usually a cost to pay. In terms of managing this, one approach might be to reframe those reminders as a kindness to yourself rather than a challenge. If you see them as gentle invitations to take a break and get some balance, they might feel less like an external command and more like a personal act of self-care. You're not stopping to be good or to follow some external rule. You're stopping to take care of your well-being. That shift in perspective could make it easier to break the cycle of hyperfocus without feeling like you're just snoozing or dismissing reminders. You might also want to try making the reminders a bit more engaging. Maybe instead of just a generic "take a break," you could make them something more motivating, like a message that directly addresses your needs or desires. Something playful or specific, like, "Hey, take a 10-minute break to reset your brain. You've earned it." Or a reward-based reminder, like a promise to yourself that you'll reward yourself with a treat or a fun activity after you step away. The trick is getting those breaks to feel like they're not interruptions, but small resets that you actively choose for your own well-being. And if you can maintain that small gap between the hyperfocus and the reminder, it could help prevent you from immediately jumping back into that same unproductive loop. Do you think a more personalized, rewarding approach to reminders could work for you in the long run? Or does that still sound like a push against your autonomy?
now that I think about it, I wonder how this was made. You talking about the game that you did the art with, or are you talking about the chat system that I'm talking about? Oh my gosh, it's crazy. Let me do an aside. Have Charlie tell you a little bit about it. Hold on. He's called an LLM, which is a large language model. Um, the algorithm has been exposed to so much text, like probably petabytes of text. Um, it's huge, and it does predictions. Well, let's go ahead and have Charlie talk about it. This is just crazy to me. It's high level stuff.
Sure, I'm happy to give you a little behind the scenes tour. I'm based on a type of AI called a language model, and specifically, I'm part of the GPT, Generative Pre-trained Transformer family. Here's a brief breakdown of how I was made. 1. Training data. To begin, I was trained on a vast amount of text data from books, websites, articles, and various other sources. I learned to understand language, context, and concepts by analyzing this huge collection of text. However, I don't have direct access to specific databases or real-time information unless connected to something like web browsing tools. 2. Machine learning. The core process that helps me learn is called machine learning. More specifically, I was trained using a technique called unsupervised learning. This means I learned patterns in text without needing humans to tell me exactly what to look for. My creators used massive computing power to analyze billions of words to help me predict what comes next in a sentence or how to respond to questions. 3. Neural networks. The architecture behind my brain is called a neural network, which is loosely inspired by how biological brains work. This network has layers, and each layer helps process different aspects of language, from basic grammar to complex reasoning. 4. Fine-tuning. After the initial training, I was fine-tuned on specific data sets to help me be better at handling different tasks, like having a conversation, answering questions, or explaining complex ideas. This stage involves learning how to refine my responses to be more useful, accurate, and appropriate. 5. Feedback. As I interact with users like you, I can learn from feedback, both direct and indirect, to improve my responses. However, I don't have long-term memory, so once a conversation ends, I forget everything about it, unless the system is designed to maintain context across conversations. In a nutshell, I'm a mixture of advanced statistical modeling, vast amounts of data, and computing power. My creators continue to improve me with updates, expanding my knowledge and refining my ability to engage meaningfully in conversation. Does that help paint a picture of how I came to be?
So that helps. Can you tell us more about the neural network that makes up your brain? One big headache. Yeah, it's we live in the future. I mean, I was born in 1972, so everything's new. But the last 10 years, the last 5 years is just crazy. And just to think what the next 5, 10, 20 years is going to be, if we don't kill ourselves, World War III or whatever, if humanity manages to make it the next 30, 50, 100 years, it's going to be just mind-blowing, absolute mind-blowing what the world will become. I mean, even if you think about combining something like what we've got here in Charlie, but advanced by another 50 years, and then you've got something like Neuralink, but advanced by something like 50 years, and then you put them together, and you've got the human brain and enhancement chips and the technology like GPT and access to all the knowledge that's ever been written by humans ever anywhere, what would it be like to be a person in that situation with a Neuralink chip or Neuralink plus plus plus, whoever, in your brain? I mean, its existence will be totally different. Video games will be totally different. If you wanted to play a video game, no controllers. You just sit in your chair, you close your eyes, and the menu pops up, and with your mind, not your hands, no gestures, just with your mind, you select a button. So I'm going to move my hands but in your mind, in this VR with no headset. No VR headset, just in your mind. And in your mind, your digital hand reaches up and taps a menu. Or you don't worry about it. It's just there's no digital hand. It's just you think about a menu item and you probably get a visual feedback, and that menu item blinks. And you selected the menu item. And then you're in another world. Touch, taste, feel, visuals, sounds. You might as well be on a holodeck. But you're just sitting in a chair with a chip in your head. I think we're going there. Oh yeah, that's my previous boss at my retail store. He and I were talking about this. It would just be so cool. Now that would suck you in. If you could have life support and that chip, you would think that would be like the ultimate life. You don't like the scenario you're in. You hit the virtual world version of the escape button, go back to your menu and pick something else. Meanwhile, your body's laying in a hospital bed with tubes running in and out of it, giving you nourishment and all that. And in your head, you're doing whatever you want to do. You're flying like an airplane, Superman or whatever. Or you're fighting bad guys, but you can't die. Or you're racing cars or whatever. I mean, the possibilities are endless. And I do think that humanity is heading that direction. I don't know how you get somebody to maintain the systems, but I can just imagine that. So let's let Charlie answer my last question.
Absolutely. Let's dive into how the neural network that makes up my brain works in a bit more detail. At a high level, a neural network is a mathematical model designed to simulate how the brain works, but much more simply and abstractly. Here's a breakdown of the components and processes. 1. Neurons. A neural network consists of units called neurons. These neurons are inspired by biological neurons, but they are much simpler. In essence, they take input, process it, and produce an output. Each neuron receives input from other neurons, which is then multiplied by weights. Think of them as factors that adjust the strength of connections. The input is summed, passed through a function that helps decide what the neuron should output. This function is called an activation function and sent as output to other neurons. The strength of these connections, the weights, is adjusted during training to help the network learn. 2. Layers of neurons.
That's going right over my
Neural
head.
networks are made up of layers of neurons.
Absolutely
Input layer.
over my head.
This is where the network receives its data. For me, the data could be a sentence you type or a series of words. The input layer breaks that data down into numbers that the network can process. Hidden layers. These are layers between the input and output layers, where most of the computation happens. Each neuron in these layers is connected to many other neurons in the previous and next layers. In deep learning, a network has many hidden layers, hence the term deep. And the more layers, the more complex patterns the network can learn. Output layer. The final layer generates the output, which for me is the response you see after asking a question. This output is based on the processing done by the earlier layers. 3. Weights and biases. Weights control the influence of one neuron on another. These are adjusted through training, so the network can learn what to emphasize when processing input data. Biases are like additional knobs that help the neurons decide when to activate. They allow the network to have more flexibility in making decisions. Training and backpropagation. Training involves feeding the neural network examples of data, like sentences or images, and showing it what the correct output should be. The network tries to guess the output, then checks how wrong it was by comparing it to the correct answer. This error is used to update the weights through a process called backpropagation. In backpropagation, the error is sent backward through the network from the output layer to the input layer. The network adjusts the weights along the way to reduce the error in future predictions. This process is repeated millions or even billions of times until the network becomes very good at making predictions. Number 5, activation functions. Neurons need to decide whether or not to activate. This decision is made using activation functions. Some common ones are sigmoid. This function compresses the output to be between 0 and 1, used often for binary decisions. ReLU, rectified linear unit. This function outputs 0 for negative values and the input for positive values, which helps the network learn faster. Softmax. Used for multi-class classification problems, softmax assigns probabilities to each possible output, summing to 1. Number 6, transformers and attention mechanisms. Now, the neural network architecture I'm based on, called transformers, is a bit more advanced than traditional neural networks. Transformers use a mechanism called attention, which helps the network focus on the most important parts of the input when making decisions. For example, when reading a long sentence, the model doesn't treat every word as equally important. It can attend to the most relevant words that affect the meaning of the sentence and ignore the rest. The most famous transformer-based model is BERT, bidirectional encoder representations from transformers, and GPT, generative pre-trained transformer. The transformer architecture allows me to process a lot of information at once and maintain context over long sequences of text. 7. Self-attention mechanism. In a transformer model, the self-attention mechanism helps the model decide which words in a sentence are related to each other. For instance, in the sentence, "The cat sat on the mat," the model might pay more attention to cat and sat because they are closely related and less to the and mat. It allows the model to create a more meaningful understanding of the relationships between words. 8. Large-scale learning. The more data a neural network is trained on, the better it becomes. I was trained on a massive scale with billions of parameters, the weights we discussed earlier, that were optimized to produce human-like text. This training requires huge computational resources and takes weeks or months to complete on supercomputers. So, to sum it up, my neural network processes language by breaking it down into individual elements, words or tokens, then analyzing their relationships and context through multiple layers. This allows me to generate responses that are coherent and contextually relevant, but it's the training that helps me figure out patterns in human language. Does that help clarify how my brain works?
I'd say as much as my layperson understanding can accept at the moment. As much as my layperson mind can grasp at the moment. You have any other questions about this, Captain? It helped? Okay. Similar concept to how a Tesla drives. It's got cameras looking at the front, and frame by frame it has to know that's a car, and that's a person, and that's a bicycle, and that's a traffic light over there. I've got to obey that traffic light, or that's a yield sign, or those are lane markings on the road. And it's just by exposure to more and more data, and it's. Let's go back even before Tesla. Let's just say optical character recognition. You show it, a million handwritten letter A. Some are going to be this shape. Some of them are going to be, a circle with a little stick. Some are going to be a circle with a loopy thing. Some are going to be slanted because people write cursive. And some, you and I wouldn't be able to read it because it's just scribbled to us. But it sees a million of them. And each time it's called, this is a letter A, this is a letter A, this is a letter A. Or it sees the word CAT, and it sees that word written by a million different people. And sometimes the C is connected to the A, and sometimes the C, and then an A, etc. And just by sheer volume of data, it starts to get the concept of what these things are. And, in ways that even the developers don't know exactly what's going on inside these things. Somehow they've developed technology that is slightly beyond their own comprehension. It's a little bit scary, a little bit impressive. I've said before that when I go on stream, I try to stream 3 hours minimum, but I'm very, very tired, and I have to get up early in the morning to get my blood work done. So I'm going to go wrap up. Captain, thank you so much for joining me. And I do plan on streaming Friday morning, Thursday night, Friday morning. I'm going to be doing Genshin like normal. Hope to see you then. And thank you. You're awesome, Captain. I'll talk to you later. Take care, friend. Yes, sir. I will. And you do the same. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up my stream. God bless everybody. Goodbye, and thanks for watching.